Hi, everybody. It's Faye, and
And I'm Dolapo.
this is Terminal 234.
Yes.
Welcome back for Season 4, Episode 3.
Yeah.
We're
So
already at
exciting.
Episode 3.
Yeah, man, we're moving.
Yeah, we're moving, and we're on Zoom with Zoom Daddy, as he likes to
Mm-hmm.
call himself.
Zoom Daddy. Yeah, I know every functionality of Zoom. I can do Zoom meeting, Zoom webinar.
Mm-hmm,
I can be the
mm-hmm.
host. I can be participants. I can
Right.
be what's the thing?
What's
If
the
you're in a
thing?
webinar, like you have a position, you're not the
I
host, but
don't know
like you're
what the thing
something,
is.
you're
I don't know what
like
it
a
is. You
speaker,
tell
like
me.
I've done it all on Zoom, man.
Moderator.
Moderator, yeah. I've
There
done it
we
all. Like
go.
I've done it all
Yeah,
on
no.
Zoom.
So
So
when this goes up on YouTube, you'll get to see Zoom Daddy's, specialties at work.
of course, yeah, no, guys, please. Very dangerous. Don't try this at home. Like you might see this and be like, "Oh, I could do Zoom so simple."
What
Like,
is this guy
nah.
talking about?
Like you're
I
gonna be so
promise you, all
confused.
of you out there can do Zoom if you just
No,
put
no,
your
no, no,
mind
no.
to it.
You can't. First of all, you can't let people think that whatever you're doing is so easy. Like you have to be like,
Oh,
"Oh
right,
yeah,
right,
it's
right.
so hard." Like, no, actually, I'm really bad with
Yeah,
that
you
because
can't come for Zoom Daddy's throne. You can't come for our
yeah,
throne.
I'm actually really bad at that because I feel like people ask me all the time of like, oh, like I'm thinking about doing a podcast. Like, what do I need to do? Like, oh, it's just so much
Mm-hmm,
stuff to think about. And
mm-hmm,
like, I'm the
mm-hmm.
person that's like, oh, like it's so easy. Like anyone can do it. I'm like, like maybe I shouldn't
Right,
say anyone. But
exactly.
then after like I tell them all the things that go into it, then like they themselves are like, oh, like maybe it's not that like you said it was simple, but like it's not simple. Like
It's
it's
not all
doable,
that
of
simple.
course.
You definitely simplify things a lot more than they deserve to be
Yeah,
simplified sometimes.
yeah.
But you know what? Let's just get into it. Let's get into our quick hits for this week.
Yeah. So the number one thing, I don't know what you guys are doing. I don't remember what day it was. Like it feels like it was a long time ago, low key. I want to say it was
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday.
I
Um,
think it was Wednesday. It was definitely
Wednesday night
midweek. Yeah.
appointment viewing. I forget who says it. There's someone on TV that says, I want to say Stephen A. Smith actually. He's like,
Okay.
it's appointment television. Like it's box office. Like it's
Yep.
something that you set a reminder in your
Yeah.
phone, you set an alarm, like remind me that I want to watch my show at this time. Like no matter what's happening, I'm watching this. And that's what
Which,
happened for me.
let's just say I failed at that because I should have set a reminder. I should have been ready and I wasn't. So unfortunately, I missed a good amount of it, like the first, let's say 40 minutes or so. And I'm sure there were fire songs. Like I definitely missed Gin and Juice
Whoa,
as
Faye,
soon
are
as he
you
played
hiding your
that.
video on purpose?
Oh
We can't see you.
no.
The people would like to see you. So yeah, I'll let you figure out your video in the meantime. But
All
yes,
right, all
before
right. I'm back. I'm
Faye's
back.
already
I'm back.
diving
I'm
into
back.
all
I'm
the
back.
songs and stuff. What the event that occurred, appointment television, was actually on Instagram Live. I believe it was on Apple TV and Apple Music as well, if I'm not lying.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the versus battle between the two dogs, DMX and Snoop Double G.
Mm-hmm. The
And
two dogs.
yeah, it was really good. So go ahead. You were saying you missed the beginning of it.
Yeah, I missed the beginning of I missed like I mentioned, I did not hear Gin and Juice. And there were a few songs on the DMX side that I also missed. But
Hmm.
uh, yeah, I what I got to see. They both did their thing. They're both legendary, as we all know. So it was definitely an awesome sight. Snoop is just such good vibes. Like at one point there was an interlude and
Mm-hmm.
he killed that shit. I'm like, okay, even for the interlude, I'm still paying attention because it's Snoop. And
Of
DMX
course.
is his normal charismatic self. So that was also great to see. What did you think about it overall?
No, I thought it was a great battle. It was just like people have been saying, it's a celebration of music more than a battle anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a good battle. Like I remember first I wasn't even home. I was on the road. I was driving somewhere to get food or something. So like but like I said, it was appointment television for me. Like there was no way I was gonna miss it. So I had it on my phone while I was driving, like connected to my car so I could hear it. And I basically like I did everything in my power to watch as much of it as possible. I missed probably bits and pieces in the middle just because it's pretty long. But I thought it was a really good battle. I think that Snoop Dogg, like you said, was just like the consummate entertainer and host.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't watched a bunch of the versus battles, but I know that's something everyone kept saying was like, yeah, like Snoop should literally host all of these. Like
I know,
honestly,
honestly.
once Corona is done, like if you're an award show and you don't have Snoop Dogg as your host, ASAP, like you're
Like, what
dropping
are
the
you
ball.
doing?
Because he was just completely entertaining. He was dancing, he was singing,
Yeah,
he was,
he was
and like you
dancing.
can even
Yeah,
tell like he went
people
out of
said
his
he's like
way.
the. People say he's like the uncle at the cookout, who's
Yeah,
just having like
yeah, he
living
really
his best life,
was.
having the
Yeah,
best time.
yeah, and he went out of his way to make like DMX feel comfortable, like, and
Hmm.
all the like, of course, it's something that's being produced for people that are watching. So there's like little things you have to do,
Right.
like, oh, tell them how many people are on right now, stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
DMX was not really about to do that. Like literally, there are a couple times where Swiss Beats is like, "Oh, DMX, take this," and DMX is like, "Nah, I'm not saying that. Like, why are you saying? No,
It's
I'm
like,
not saying
what
that. I
you
don't
talking
like." So
about?
like Snoop really did a good job of like, the production side of it. You can tell that he put
For
a lot of
sure.
effort to make
For
sure
sure.
it was a good
For
show,
sure.
and the music was really good. Like I was just reminiscing. I'm like, oh my god, where my dogs at? Yeah, yeah, where are they? Right here. Like it was good.
Ew. No, but I know we always say these battles are not battles at all. You even mentioned that several seconds ago. But
Yeah.
with that said, there still is a winner most times. And who did you think the winner was in this case?
So I'm not really one of those people that has a scorecard and is like marking it, but I do
Mm-hmm.
think that Snoop probably overall won. I think that it
Mm.
was close, but he probably won by, what they played 20 records. He probably won 12-8, something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe 11-9, depending on what your preference is. Snoop just has a lot of hits. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I think people knew going into it that he had a lot of hits. I think he was a favorite, like to win.
And he
But he
and he
just
didn't even
has a
play
lot of
all of
hits.
them.
No, of course he didn't even play all of them,
Yeah.
but like what I really liked, to be honest, what I really liked about the battle was that they also really flowed well together. Like
Hmm.
DMX would play a love song or his version of a
Right.
love song, and Snoop would be
Right.
like, "Oh, since you played that, like, let me play beautiful." Like like they did
Right,
that really well.
right.
Like they worked
The
off of each
sequencing was
other.
awesome. You would
It
think
was
they like
beautiful. It
sat
felt
down
like they
together
planned
and
it.
did it. Yeah, yeah,
Honestly, like
yeah,
if
yeah.
someone came out and said like, "Oh yeah, like they planned all these songs out together," like I wouldn't be surprised because it was
Hmm.
that good.
I could
Like it
believe
was
it. Yeah.
not, never felt random. It never felt like, oh, you're just like, oh, let's just go to a different like, nah, like and it was nice. DMX to open with a prayer, which is like DMX, like quintessential DMX. It was good. Like literally,
DMX's type of prayer. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
there was
yeah.
nothing I would say like, oh, they
No
should have done
misses for
that
me.
differently.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
The only thing they should have done differently is Snoop Dogg should have played sexual seduction.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like you said, it was well sequenced to the point where I feel like I don't know where he would have slotted it in. I don't know what DMX song would have gone toe to toe with that, but
yeah,
I mean, I still missed it though. They could have squeezed it in somewhere. Swiss Beats
yeah.
could have helped them with that, but it's fine. It's all good.
Yeah, no, I think it was just very well produced, well done. I
Mhm.
don't know if you know this, but DMX is like one of the few artists that like I really do want to see in concert. Though at the beginning of the battle,
Ah.
I was like, oh, DMX gained some weight. Like, do I want to see him? Like, can he perform? Because he was getting out of breath, man. After 1 minute, like there was a that
Mhm.
Snoop was trying to have conversation. I'm like, yo, let the man catch his breath, please. Like
Yeah, yeah,
Snoop
yeah,
was, like Snoop
yeah.
literally was not high. Like he could have kept going. At the end, Snoop wanted to freestyle, and DMX was like, "Can we be done now?" Like Snoop is like, "Oh, X, I'm
Hmm.
gonna pass it to you." DMX is like, you don't have to pass it to me." Like, so no, it was
Not.
fun. It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. You're right about that. So I look forward to whatever they have next for us. I'm sure it'll be fire because they've kept it consistent. Like I
Yeah,
haven't felt a dip at all.
yeah.
So
And I think ultimately,
versus is
like,
lit.
there's gonna be battles that some people might not be that into,
Yeah,
but it's
of
not a
course.
bad thing. Like, it's as long as you put
Exactly.
two people that are for some reason similar, just like an interesting, competition balance. Like, I never would have put Snoop Dogg and DMX together ever. And it felt
Really?
like no, I wouldn't have because I wouldn't think like Snoop just has a lot of hits, and their vibes are a little bit
Okay, so
different. So it's
you didn't
like
think that DMX would have measured up?
yeah, for 20 songs, like, nah, I didn't really think that DMX
And
would
then
be
there
able
you
to. And
go.
and to
Surprise,
be honest, like,
surprise.
as much as we all enjoyed it, like he didn't. Like you can list songs that Snoop Dogg didn't play.
Yeah,
DMX
yeah.
played everything. There was no DMX song that you'd be like,
No,
oh,
I
he
heard
should
that
have
there's some
played
stuff he
this.
didn't play though. I think there were two songs. I really can't remember
Oh,
the
I would
names,
like
which
to
is
know what they were.
annoying.
Yeah,
But there
yeah,
were a
yeah.
couple songs that I've heard people throw around. But
Yeah,
I see what you mean though. Like literally, there are mega hits by Snoop Dogg, "Sexual
yeah,
Seduction," for example, that weren't
yeah,
played.
yeah. No, I
Yeah,
think Snoop just has too many. But
Yeah,
it was cool. Like I said, it was fun. It was fun to watch. It was fun to see them interact. It was good. It was good vibes.
all good vibes. Yeah. So what's the next quick hit we have?
Yeah, no. So from good vibes to bad vibes, bad vibes. We didn't get a chance to talk about this, but this happened probably a month ago or 2 months ago, where our one of our biggest Nigerian artists, of all time, basically D'banj, really one of the first that kind of broke through across the pond, across the ocean, was accused of rape or sexual assault of a woman. She's, I guess, an up and coming artist. She accused him of assaulting her or raping her in like December of 2018. It was a pretty big thing. It like had Twitter on fire. It was when we were on our little break, so we of course would have talked about it sooner
Yeah, we
otherwise.
missed it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was like for a couple of days, it was the only thing on Twitter, and it was just a very peculiar situation. Of course, it's a he said, she said, because we weren't there. We don't know what happened, but it was a lot of funny business going on. The band, it was a lot of bully tactics, it looked like, from his side of things. I know that the girl apparently was arrested. Again, all these things are what was going around on Twitter. Like, it's so much misinformation that you can never say with 100% certainty that's what happened. But she was apparently arrested on direction or influence from the band, right? So she was arrested because she accused him on Twitter and said it to the world. She was arrested, which is never a good look if a potential victim is being arrested for telling their story. And then maybe a couple days after that, the whole thing, she was pretty silent. And then the next thing you know, on her Twitter page, she posted like the band's new song and like his video, and like almost like a promo thing, like and people were like, wait, like, huh, like this doesn't make sense. Of course, people were like, oh, like, was this whole thing just to promote him? But really, more people kind of lean towards he, again, bullied her into posting his thing on there to kind of be like, okay, if she's posting about it, then obviously it's settled. You know what I mean? So like just bully tactics of like, okay, I'm gonna make you post this thing here, and it's never really a good thing. But that's what happened. It
the
kind of
whole
went
thing just
quiet
looked
for a little.
messy.
Yeah, it was very messy. Of course, he came out and denied everything. I have to say that as well. He said that's not what happened. It didn't happen like that. Everything was quiet for a while. I know that recently, within the last week, there were stories that they've settled. There's an organization, I forget what they're called, but they basically advocate for rape victims in Nigeria, and they said they had stopped working with the lady because they don't do settlements out of court. Like they're not part of that process. But it sounds like there's some type of settlement potentially in the works or something like that. So just thought it was something that we definitely want to bring up to let people know, and just real quick just talk about more so the bully tactics, if that is what's going on, and just the fact that for as big an artist as he is, like I said, it did have Twitter on fire for a day or two, but it feels like it's almost like, damn, like you could be accused of rape at that level. It's already quieted down. Exactly, it's gone that quick.
I think the reason that always occurs with rape accusations, because like you mentioned, it always comes down to he said, she said, and unfortunately the way the world is set up, we always want evidence, we always want proof, and when the proof isn't there, it's hard for you to really choose a side, if you will. I know there's usually the narrative, at least in recent years, where we try to believe the victim at all times. But like you mentioned, there's a lot of back and forth that has gone on with said victim in terms of supporting his music, in terms of settling out of court, that has, cast maybe a cloud over her and made her story seem a little bit more shady. But I mean, for me, I guess I can say with the bullying tactics, I hate to say it, but it doesn't necessarily surprise me, because once you have that weight and power and notoriety behind you, you're going to do all things possible to make sure that you keep that weight and power and notoriety. And so, of course, he's gonna, not of course, it shouldn't be the case, but if you want to protect your your status, whether you did something or not, you're going to try your best to make that person kind of step back what they mentioned or what they said about you, considering all they have is their word. It's not like she put out screenshots or has any other evidence besides her word. So walking things back is going to be pretty easy for her. There's no evidence that's going to stay out there outside of what she's had to say at the band. So all it takes is, someone with power to say, chill, I got you, you can settle this, and things can change. But I don't really feel like I can say much more than that, because everything is speculation.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what's true or not true. And I don't want to say the band definitely did something if there's nothing to say that he did. I don't want to say she's lying if there's nothing to say that she did. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Like, bullying tactics should never be in play when it comes to stories like this.
Yes.
But there's kind of no way for us to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, the biggest thing that probably we should take out of it is the fact that we need to advocate more for victims. And, just everyone's side should be heard in a fair way, in an open way, in a way that's not, no one should be coerced into saying something or doing something after the fact, definitely not during or whatever. So I think that, I hope that it gets settled in the correct way in terms of if something did occur. I hope that, whoever is responsible does get the appropriate punishment. And if nothing
Dolapo,
occurred,
me,
I hope that works out as well.
I just wish I knew more. Like, because for me, I actually didn't worry very much. As you know, as we talked about last week, I'm not on Twitter. So I didn't follow the story from inception to the end of it, meaning I don't have very much to really put my weight behind. I think this is what happened. But let's say it was the nefarious case where she was bullied out of speaking her truth, then that's just, a disgusting act. And like, if nothing else, the victim wants somebody to take responsibility for their actions. So by bullying them into basically take back what they know to be the truth, it silences not only them, but other victims that are like, well, they're never going to take responsibility anyway, and I'm just going to have to keep quiet and allow this person to continue on as, a mega pop star that he is. So It's just unfortunate. Like, these kind of stories just makes it harder for people who do go through sexual assault and harassment and things of the sort. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we'll see how this story plays out, if it continues to play out in the public eye. And, we wish our best to her and any other victims.
Yeah, no, certainly. And it is something that's happening more and more where Nigerian, I don't want to just say artists, but people in the public eye in that world are being, I don't want to say accused, but, like stories like that are coming up more and more, which to me, it's a good thing in the sense that if they are true, like you want people to have the power to be able to say it. So,
for sure.
I know it's always that part where we will say like, is it true, this and that, but I feel like we've talked about it before on here, and if not, we'll talk about it another time. Where just like the occurrence of false accusations is lower than people often think, right? Like usually people are not just accusing people out the blue. Like, of course it happens because everything happens, but it's not like 50% of the time. It's not even 30% of the time, according to some studies. So again, prayers to everyone that's involved, and hope that things work out. And, hopefully as we keep growing as people and as communities, we can continue to better understand what is okay and what is not okay, and advocate for victims in all situations.
Yeah. No, but to start off this story, you mentioned how the band had crossover appeal. One of the earliest, Nigerian artists to have that appeal.
Yeah.
And he had that next person we're going to talk about, at least in large part, because of Kanye West and the relationship that him and Kanye had early on.
It was the first, I want to say, it was the first Nigerian artist signed to good music.
Yeah.
It's a stat that nobody needs to check.
Maybe
I
only?
think it must be
Are there
true.
any others?
Who knows? There's so many Nigerians hiding in this world. Like you can never
True,
tell.
true, true.
Like we'll
Like you
find out
find out
Pusha
three
T is
years later,
Nigerian.
like, oh wait, what?
Like, Pusha T. No, he's Nigerian.
That's a fact. Okay, but no, Kanye,
Yeah, your boy.
Kanye, Mr. West.
Your genius.
Stop it. You know
Yeah, I
what
know.
though? I was thinking to myself the other day, I'm like, bro, the amount of times the words Kanye, West, and genius are in the same sentence is unreal. Like at this point, is it propaganda that we don't realize is
I
happening?
was just
Like
about to say that it
I
is.
I have said he's a, like I have said he's a genius, but I'm like, wait, I think I just used that word because everybody else
No, let me tell you why I use
uses
that
that
word.
word. You know what
You
I
don't use that
mean?
word because everybody else uses that word. You use that word because Kanye uses that word. Kanye told
Well,
us that he
yeah.
was a genius when nobody asked him. That's like
Exactly.
we refer to him how he has always asked to be referred to. Like it's like
But
if I
then
decide
exactly
today that
everybody
I'm genius.
adopted it.
Yeah,
Like for instance, and only certain artists can do that. Like for instance, Taylor Swift can come out tomorrow and say she's a genius, but I don't think it would be received the same way. Like, why is it
yeah,
that Kanye's genius status is like almost untouched? Like till today, like anytime I see coverage about Kanye West, everybody has to preface it by he's a genius, and we all know
mm-hmm.
he's a genius. He's a genius this, he's a genius that. Well, now I'm gonna go around saying, "Hi, my name is Faye, and I'm a genius." Like maybe it'll
Yeah,
catch on because it
yeah.
works
And I think that before we even
very
delve,
well
I mean,
for
we're about to
Kanye.
get into
Anyway,
everything that happened, but I think that whole
yeah,
genius thing
yeah.
is part of how I feel about Kanye currently is that we,
Mm-hmm.
as a society, we tend to say if you're high performing, we'll let go of so much. We won't treat you like everyone else because you're high performing. I
Yeah.
think that's just ingrained in the American psyche as like, if you're really good at sports, if you're really good at accounting, if you're really Donald Trump, if you're really good at any one thing,
Art. Yeah.
exactly as long as you're good
Mm-hmm.
at something, then we can forgive a lot of other things because you're so good, like you're a genius. So
For
it's very
discretion.
good
Yeah.
for his brand that we consider him a genius because we continue to talk about him when really
Very fair
we
point.
should be over him. I'm tired of him. Sorry, go ahead. Tell the
Very
people what's
fair
going on
point.
with Kanye.
Slash the fact that he's a genius is why people are really like, well, or the fact that people consider him a genius, I should say,
Yeah.
is why people are like, well, maybe he wants to be president. That's why he has
Ugh.
the right or wherewithal to be the next president. Agree with you. I agree with your sentiment of like when I heard he was running for president, it made my skin crawl in so many ways. And I'm the type of person that like you have to hold somebody accountable for their actions. So accountability does not mean a lack of empathy. And with that said, I have empathy for the situation I'm about to discuss. But basically, ever since let's say July 4th, when he came out and said he's running for president officially, things have kind of unraveled in the public that are quite alarming, confusing, unsettling, and every other word under that umbrella. So even the Forbes interview that took place where he announced his candidacy or campaign was very confusing and questionable and all over the place. I didn't read the whole thing. I read snippets here and there, which might be good or bad. Maybe I'm not getting the full picture, but from what I've seen and read, it just seems like somebody that's unhinged and doesn't even know why or what he's running for. Like he kind of just decided. I know we've heard these for the past few years, but he decided that 5 months before the election, he's actually going to follow through with these aspirations. And since then, he's done a few things, one of which being the campaign rally in South Carolina that occurred a few weeks back now. And during that rally, again, we see somebody who is confused and all over the place and unhinged, again, in my opinion. And to the point where he's saying things about his family, very personal, intimate information about his family that some would argue should not be shared, at least not in the manner in which he shared it. Paramount of which is his talk about Northwest, his eldest child, his first daughter, and the fact that he almost aborted her, or him and Kim almost aborted her or considered aborting her, and all that jazz. So that opened up a conversation about abortion and the right to it and the morality of it and blah, blah, blah. But in that nation, we're also talking about Kanye crying and sharing these intimate details and coming off so just all over the place, to keep reusing that word during this. And then lastly, I guess the last highlight I should bring up is Twitter rants that he's had in the midst of all of this. And again, he's sharing intimate details about his relationship with his family, especially that with Kim, and then his mother-in-law, Chris, saying things like he doesn't want Chris around his kids, saying things like Kim and him have been on the divorce for a while now, saying things like she thinks Kim and Meek Mill have had unsavory relations, just outlanes and saying things like he's Get Out. He's the person Get Out is about, which if you've watched Get Out, you get it. Like, he's basically saying he's trapped, especially trapped by white people, the Kardashians. So all that being said, people have obviously brought into question his mental health, along with matters of should he be held accountable, and to what extent mental health should play a role in his accountability. So all of that is what brings us to this conversation now. I know how you feel to a certain extent, Dolapo, but do you want to tell everybody how you feel?
No, I think that before we started recording, which by the way, I think we're running out of time on this, but it's okay. We'll re-up. Okay. We can come back again. But no, before we start recording, I was just saying that I think that the way we treat him now, I guess maybe I should preface this with, all the, mental health. Like, I understand people have, because it is important. It is true. I don't want to make it sound like it's something I'm dismissing, because I don't know him. I don't know his situation. He clearly seems like there is something there, but a lot of us are diagnosing somebody we don't know. We've never sat down with and had a conversation with. So we can't diagnose him, but we also know that it looks a certain kind of way, right? To me, I feel like we've been treating him with like, oh, he's a special kid. He's a special kid. No one talks to him any kind of way. He's just like, imagine that kid that, the parent, like a spoiled kid that no one can yell at, but he's always doing something. And I was like, yo, I don't want to yell at your kid, but can you talk to your kid to stop doing this? Like, I'm not going to, we can't just act like this kid is not doing anything. Like, he's acting out. And whenever anyone tries to say anything, then we're told, they're like, oh, but that he's this way, like that. It's like, wait, is he diagnosed? And if he is, can we then treat him this way all the time? Because on one end, we're supposed to take him seriously that he wants to run for president and this and that. On the other end, we're supposed to understand that he has mental health issues and he's not taking, to me, I'm ready for us to be rid of him as a public figure that we're always worried about. Like, he needs, whatever he needs to do, he needs to do out of our eyesight. Like, we don't need to see him. Like, I was listening to a podcast and he talked about how nice it was when he was not on our radar for a little bit. That's how it should be until he figures out whatever he needs to figure out. That's how it should be. It's tiring, I think.
So first and foremost, I hear you. I hear everything you're saying, and I agree to a large extent. Like, we need to start holding this guy accountable for his words and stop using the fact that he's some sort of genius as an excuse for him saying outlandish or inappropriate and offensive things, quite frankly. But with that said, one, he definitely has been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. He said that himself, and also his wife has come out and said that as of a few days ago, actually, she came out with a statement for the first time addressing all the shit that I mentioned already. And basically she had said, you know what, my husband has bipolar disorder. I've never spoken about it out of respect for my family and him. But it doesn't invalidate any of his creativity or his thoughts or his dreams and whatnot. In fact, that's what's gotten him to the point that he's at now. With that said, he is kind of refusing help. He's a full-grown adult, though, so the help he's refusing can't be forced upon him. And we kind of have to just step back and work it out as a family, and with, I guess, some empathy and compassion from the world at large. And I should mention that during his tweets, he did say, yo, my wife is trying to come out here and basically lock me up. And that's partially why he mentioned the get out thing, saying that he was refusing help from his wife, and then I guess whatever medical professional would have come along with her. So clearly, with all of that being said, I do think he's going through some sort of manic episode. And I think it deserves a layer of empathy that some people are struggling to give him at this time. Which again, when I started all of this, I said, I get it. I understand where you're coming from. And just because you're holding somebody accountable, though, doesn't mean you can't, feel for them a little bit. I feel for him, but I also feel for his family, because I would be devastated, mortified, like just out of my wits about what to do if anybody that I loved dearly or anybody in my family was going through manic episodes in such a public way, on such a public sphere. Like what do you do? Like, especially if you're trying to help them and they're resistant to the help, like at that point you just have to kind of let them say the most hurtful things, the most crazy things, the most offensive things, and sit back and watch and wait for the time where you can swoop in and get them the help they need. So with that said, I'm like, whew, like, what would you do? What would you do if you're in that position? Like, especially for people who are like, where's Kim? Where is his family? Where is his wife? Or like trying to blame them for anything he's going through right now. It's like, that's definitely unfair. And then for people who are like, we just need to discard Kanye and never think about him again, I'm like, that's a bit unfair too, because when he was on the up and up, we were willing to rally around him and, be his biggest fans and like prop him up to say things about George Bush or like say Beyonce should have won and things like that. So when he's saying things that you agree with, whether it was an outlandish form or not, you're willing to support him. But the moment his mental illness and his words have taken a turn for the worse, you're not there any longer. And if you're a true fan, I don't think that should be yours. And if you're not a fan, I don't think that should be your stance. Because as a person, the guy deserves a little bit of empathy, a little bit of grace. I still don't agree with the shit he says. I still think he should be held accountable. I still think he needs to be sat down and, yo, this is how you've affected the culture. This is how you've affected people that follow you. This is the things that you're doing. But that doesn't mean to get to that point, you're not trying to like see where they're coming from and feel for them and help them. Does that make sense?
I think it makes sense. I think that it makes sense. I think it's just one of those things where one thing has to come before the other. And maybe not necessarily, but there has to be more of one versus the other in terms of how we handle it, right? Like you said, there are a lot of hurtful things that are being said. And I do definitely empathize with his family, because just listen to you say all that, I'm like, I don't know what they can do. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like they're in a little bit of a helpless situation. I haven't had to deal with anyone with those types of issues. So I don't know what power you have by law, and just slide out what power you have. And it kind of comes down to who's around him. What I do think, though, is that we have to, as much as I understand what you're saying, is like, yeah, we don't want to just forget about him and just like quote unquote cancel him. I would never ask to cancel someone. Like, it's stupid to me. But I do think that we need to reduce the volume of his mic. Does that make sense to you? Like, okay, he can have a mic because he has a mic. That's what he does. He needs a mic to do most of the things that he's done. The things that we revere him for requires a mic. But we need to find a way to reduce that volume so that he knows that, like, listen, we're not just going to let you say anything. Like, yes, you have a situation, you have a condition, but at what point are we like, no, Kanye, we don't want to hear you talk about that? Like, to me, that's the part that I'm like, I feel like there's a lot of apologists for him. There's a lot of people that say like, oh, but this, and it's like, no, like, can we just say that what he said is wrong? Can we just say that we don't want to hear him talk about this type of thing? Like, I would be totally fine if Kanye continued to make his music and continued to do his shoes and continued to do designer stuff. Why are we talking about Kanye as president in any kind of a serious fashion? That's the part that like makes you push
in
back.
all seriousness.
It makes you not want to empathize. Like, I'm listening to the Joe Budden podcast and they call Chance the Rapper. Chance the Rapper is as a serious human being trying to make a point as to why Kanye is not a bad candidate. And I'm like, even the people that were talking to him were obviously shocked because they called expecting him to just be like, yeah, sorry, I don't know what I was smoking. And he was trying to make, and it's like, that's the part that's annoying to me. That's the part that's like, as long as there are people that still
it's
give him
definitely
that,
very
then
annoying.
he'll continue to, like, it's hard to tell him that what you're doing is not good if he continues to get that support. And people look for
he'll continue
what
to
they
play
want.
into it, definitely.
Yeah. Like, if he wants to see people that support him, he'll see mad people that support him upon the crazy things that he's doing. That's the part that I'm annoyed at. It's like, yo, what the hell?
I agree with that. I have an issue with the just out there as well because, like you mentioned, it stokes the fire. It makes him feel validated in what he's doing. Like, if nobody is paying attention, at one point he's just gonna have to walk away from the mic and go seek that help. So I do agree with you in that sense, and I do think that people who keep saying that, you know, he's just doing this for clout, or he's just doing this for the attention, or he's just doing this to sell records because he was supposed to release music this past Friday, or sell shoes, whatnot. I do think that they have a little bit of a point. But what I will say on that note is, the guy, if he is having a manic episode, which I think he is, has a pattern of doing this every single time he's about to release anything. And I do think that's probably the reason why these manic episodes happen, in the sense that when you have so much pressure and so much, like, riding on a release from a genius, you kind of talk to yourself into a tailspin, and you end up doing things you might not normally do. Because, like you mentioned, he has times where he's not in the public view for a couple months, a couple years, and that's usually when he doesn't have an album or a shoe or whatever coming out. So both can be true, where he's doing it for attention, but also it's not like attention in the sense that he's trying to sell records. It's attention in the sense that I'm creating genius level work that all of you need to consume, and I'm working myself up to a point where I'm doing this and acting out in the public eye. So yeah, I mean, I don't think you want to talk about Kanye.
I think that I think a lot of my issue with the Kanye thing, like I said, is I kind of like the thing I said with the mic, because I literally thought about it on the spot, you know, so, you know, me too, I'm genius level thinking out here. But I think that my biggest issue is not with him. Like, if I'm going to accept that he has mental health issues, right, which it sounds like he's diagnosed, everybody's telling me, his wife is telling me, fine. He's dealing with issues. He is, I don't want to say he's blameless because he has issues, but there's a level of like, okay, that's not him speaking, he's going through an episode. Like, there's a level of that, fine. My issue then is more so with the people that are allowing him, right? And like you said, maybe it's not his family. Like, a lot of attention gets turned to his family of like, where are you? Why are you letting him do this? But if his family's coming out saying like, yo, we're not the one letting him do this. Like, but he has enablers. He has people that enable him and allow him to be in our public eye. Like, it's not like of course he can Twitter rant. We can't control Twitter rants. But he went to go do an interview with the whole publication. Like, it wasn't like he just sat in his house and tweeted all these things. Like, you're giving him a bigger platform. Like, his platform is big enough already because that's how the world is. But like, we don't have to add to it. And then everyone retweets, everyone refreshes, everyone like makes that story bigger. And it's like, why can't we all just hear him say nonsense and be like, that's nonsense, let's not even react to it? But if everyone reacts to it, then we're literally making him louder. We're doing the opposite of what we should be doing, which is to not silence him, because I don't want to ever silence a black man, but we should be able to turn down the volume on certain things. Like, it's kind of like the thing with hero worship. Like, sometimes there are people that we put up as like, we love this person, but not everything they do we love. And some things they do, we're going to be quiet on. We're going to be like, let's not talk about that part.
We're going to have a problem. Yeah. I agree.
And something else.
I think we can end it on that note, honestly. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the whole Kanye thing, like, I'm just like...
This guy was telling me before we started talking he does not want to talk about Kanye. Now you can't stop talking about Kanye.
Yeah, I can't, because it's just upsetting to me, you know? It makes my blood boil. But the other thing is, like, where are his friends? Like, does he have friends? Like, where are they at? What are they doing? Like, this is where you need friends. This is where, like, again, like I said, I'm not just looking at
Mm.
him, and people are looking at the family, and of course they've come out and said stuff, but now I'm also looking at like, damn, like where are your friends at? And I know that there's so much that could go into it, but the people that are around you are so important because they protect you from yourself sometimes, which is why we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
And that's
Uh-huh.
part of it.
That's a perfect tee up to our main topic for today. But I will say, in the case of Kanye, Dave Chappelle did fly out to Wyoming to go see him. So that was a really good sight to see that he does have somebody, especially somebody that is on his level of genius status
Mm-hmm.
or whatever you want to call it. It's the level of superstardom that maybe Kanye can listen to and respect. Because when he's just seeing a bunch of Twitter figures yelling at him, I'm sure he can disregard that a lot easier than the likes of Dave Chappelle. So luckily, he does have people that care about him, that are making sure that he is on the up and up to a certain degree, and he's not really, gonna go crazy on us. But yeah, no, I think now we can definitely bring up the main topic at hand, and the fact that today we're talking about friendships and those relationships in your life, because when we're speaking about wellness is not only a solitary endeavor. It involves a lot of external factors and people outside of yourself. And for me, one of those people, or one of the set of people that really matter in my life, are my friends. Just as much as my family and like coworkers and things of the like, my friends are a paramount set of people that I need to keep my engine going. How do you feel about friends, Dolapo?
Yeah, no, I definitely think friends are important. Like I said, going on with the whole Kanye thing, like you need friends. Friends are important. Friends can protect you from yourself sometimes, and just kind of help you look out for danger that you might not see. Because sometimes that danger is within yourself. Sometimes it's without, right? Sometimes it's out there.
Mm-hmm.
But friends are important, and specifically, we really want to talk about not just the importance of friends, but also just the idea of how many friends you have, like the quantity versus quality thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think that, of course, when we say it that way, it becomes a really simple, like, oh, of course, quality. Everyone knows that you should always say quality over
Yeah.
quantity. But I feel
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of people don't necessarily live their lives that way. And it affects how, what's the word I'm looking for? I feel like it affects how full your life is, the kinds of
Mm-hmm.
friendships you have, right? Because there are people that
Yeah.
I see, and, of course, I'm judging them. Guys, I judge people. Don't let people like me. I'm one of the people that judge people. But I see people that have like a bunch of friends, and there's a level of like hollowness to their friendship. Like even you bringing up Dave Chappelle going to
Yeah.
see him,
Yeah.
like again, we're not gonna talk about Kanye, but we can use him as a reference point anyway. Like to me, I'm like, what kind
Okay.
of friendship
Okay.
do they have? Like, are they really friends like that? Like, is that really the person? Like, I understand when you
I
put
will say they are really
the
friends.
no. I understand when you say like, okay, like he's somebody that he might look to and be like, you've accomplished something on my level. Like he might respect him off of that. But to me, I'm like, is that really your friend? Like, are you guys really hanging out? Like, forget if Kanye was not saying crazy stuff. Is Dave Chappelle and Kanye like, are they friends? Like to me, I don't know. I don't follow either of them on anything, so I don't know their lives. But
They
I've never
are
connected them.
are in the sense that they go way back. They go way back. Like Kanye would be on Dave Chappelle's show back in the day when Dave Chappelle had a show on Comedy Central. So
Mm-hmm.
apparently that was where their friendship began. And
Mm-hmm.
then ever since then, they've remained consistent and reliable friends for one another.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all know that Dave Chappelle has had a spotty past, like in terms of potential mental health issues himself. I don't ever confirmed it, but a lot of people will say the reason he left the industry for so many years was because behind the scenes he was going through some things, and no amount of money was going to be able to help the situation or help him stay in the industry. Like the industry had a toll on him and his mental. So I can understand him having maybe a level of understanding when
Oh,
it comes to
definitely, definitely.
Kanye's
That's why I said I could
situation.
see the
Yeah.
understanding. But my question really is, and like I said, it's not necessarily specific to Kanye, so I don't want to get too like stuck to Kanye. I just use him as a
Yeah.
reference point.
Too
But it's the
deep in
idea
there.
of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
how, like, what is a friend, right? Like, what do we call in a quality friend? Because if we're just gonna say, oh, quality versus like,
Mm-hmm.
at what point do we say like, oh, this friend is a quality friend versus just a friend versus associate versus all these other
I
terms
totally
that
feel you.
people use to try to differentiate the levels of their friendships. It's an important thing to know, and it's
Yeah,
important thing to know like what are the things that make someone a good friend and a friend that
a good
you can
friend.
count on, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you in the sense that there's a lot that goes into quality friendships. Least of which to me is like how long necessarily they've been in your life, because just because somebody has been a consistent friend and always been there for, let's say, 10 years, doesn't mean that they rival a friend that might have only been here for 3 years or 5 years, whatever. That might show other qualities. So for me, the length of a friendship is definitely important, because if somebody has been there for a long period of time, obviously they've seen you through ups and downs, and they've seen you through your best and your worst. But outside of that, for me, I, I just like the feeling of safety in a friendship. I think that's how I can measure the quality of a friendship. And
Hmm.
safety is, I know you're always going to be there. Like, there's a loyalty involved in our relationship. There is trust. Like, I know no matter what, like, I feel safe in tell you the hardest or the happenings going on in my life. Um, and I think, again, when I think of my most quality friendships, they just make me feel safe. They make me feel
Mm-hmm.
like no matter what, 10 years down the line, wherever I am, they're gonna be there for me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, definitely, definitely.
So yeah,
Actually, the
that's
fact that
for
you use the
me what
word
a quality
safe.
friendship is.
Um, have you watched the HBO show? I feel like I'm going to ask you this every week until you, in fact, watch it. Have you watched it? I May Destroy You?
No, I'm going to. I really am. I swear I will, because I've heard so much
So
about it, but
that's it's such a good
not
show.
yet.
It actually fits very perfectly into the way you just described what a good friend is. In the sense that it really explores that topic
Mm-hmm.
of feeling safe around your friends, right? Like your friends making
Mm-hmm.
you feel safe. And as it turns out in the
Mm-hmm.
show, the girl feels very safe around her friends because they're her friends, like you said. But as someone like as us being the third party, if you will, she shouldn't feel safe around her friends. Not because her
Mm.
friends mean to harm her, but like her friends don't do enough to protect her. You know
Yeah,
what I
to
mean? And
protect
to me,
her.
like I do
Yeah.
definitely agree. Like that's what a friend is. Like a friend is someone that is going to look out for you, even when they don't want to, even when it's annoying, even when it's like, yo, why did you do the most? Like you're doing the most right now, but I'm still gonna look out for you. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
going back to another show, Snowfall. Do you watch Snowfall?
Mm-hmm.
No, you don't watch Snowfall.
I've seen it here and there, but no, I don't watch it.
But that was a. I'm just gonna reference all the shows
I'm
you
not a
don't watch.
consistent viewer.
Yeah, there was an
Exactly.
episode where the main character and like his best friend, of course they're selling drugs, blah blah blah. But the point of the episode, and I remember like it became a meme. I feel like it was like a big thing on Twitter where the best friend had done something wrong,
Okay.
right? And then the main character basically had to go like defend his friend and basically let's say his best friend slapped someone, but
Mm-hmm.
like as the best friend, he had to be like, okay, I'm fighting with you. But then after the fact, it was like, yo, you really shouldn't have slapped him. Like you were completely wrong for doing that. Like,
Yeah.
don't do that again.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
that's friendship in itself is like defending your friend, but at the same time holding them accountable, not just defending them and writing for them. Like people always say ride or
Accountable.
die, but it's like,
Yeah.
nah, like you don't want to die with your friends. Like it's not ride or die. Like you should ride with them, but there should be a level of accountability. There should be a level of
Yeah.
understanding, responsibility of like, hey, I'm not just gonna let you do whatever you want because I'm your friend. I'm gonna be like, all right, cool. I'm not judging you. Like you can judge your friends. There's nothing wrong with judging them and saying you're acting crazy.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah, I
For
mean,
sure. I mean, for me, now the reason why I was mentioning like the length of friendships not necessarily dictating the quality of a friendship is because
mm-hmm.
after being on earth for an amount of time, you tend to accumulate friends.
Yeah,
So, being a 25-year-old woman, I've had friends from middle school, high school, some that are still in my life, some that are not, college, outside of college, work, whatever. And when you're collecting friends, realize that, oh, okay, this person I've known for 15 years, but I hardly talk to them. They don't know anything about my life. I don't know anything about theirs. We call each other friends more out of like, it feels weird revoking such a title. If you've called somebody a friend in the past, you tend to call them a friend in the future, even though that relationship might have changed. So with that in mind, that's why I brought up the fact that you necessarily rely on the length of a friendship to dictate the quality of it. Now, for me, on top of that, when it comes to quantity, now let's veer off from quality. When it comes to quantity of friends, some might say I have a lot of friends, but the thing about that is some might call themselves a friend to you, even if you don't see them as a friend. And for me, it's like, okay, some people, all you need is to be the friend that shows up to their party, and they like shows up to any celebratory event that they have, and immediately you're a friend. That's not enough for me to consider you a friend. That's when, again, you're not getting that quality stamp for me. Just because you show up to all my celebratory events and I show up to yours, that just means I, as a person, have love for you, have care for you, want to see you thrive. But if we're not outside of the happy-go-lucky things, then how can I consider that a quality friendship? Again, the wealth of a friendship for me comes when I can rely on you when it's not so great, when things are not so celebratory, when I know you're somebody I can pick up the phone and call at the worst of times. So that's where, again, that quality stamp, you're not getting it from me. Even though others might consider me a friend, like, you know what I mean? Or others looking outside might be like, Faye has to be friends with this person, even though in my mind I'm like, nah.
And I
now,
do think,
for you, what is one of the big things that... Go ahead.
Ask your question. I want to ask that.
Okay. I was just saying, like, what do you think is like a big like stamp of quality for you, that just because that person might seem like a friend from the outside looking in, if they don't do X, they're not a quality friend for you?
I think your word safety I like a lot, though maybe from the way I see the world, I'm kind of raised to be like, oh, I feel like I'm safe no matter what, like by myself, like I got myself. But another word I think is close to it is comfortable. For me, like that's something that's really important. Like I'm the kind of person that, depending on how you know me, you might think I have friends, or you might think I have no friends, or you might think I talk a lot, or you might think like, have I ever spoken before? And it's just about how comfortable I feel. Honestly, like I feel like if I'm comfortable, then of course I can be myself. I can show you all sides of me without, of course, like I said, I expect to be judged, but with less judgment. And, I expect the judgment to not be harsh. If I don't know you as well, if I don't feel that comfortable around you, you're not my friend. You're not somebody that we're not going to do anything together by ourselves. Like, we can, like, you can invite me to your party. I'll invite you to my party or something. But, and like in a group setting, we can hang out, we can do stuff. But I wouldn't feel too comfortable just hanging out with you by like just both of us. Like, so you're not like a friend like that. You know what I mean? So, and like you said, I'm one of those people.
Okay, maybe let's stop acting like, oh, it's an exclusive club. The Fey or the Dolapo Friendship Club is so exclusive. Like, of course, we know that our friends that might not have that huge quality stamp. We're just talking about the hierarchy level of friendship.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, maybe I can rephrase it that way.
Of course, no. It's definitely, like you said, like it's definitely hierarchy, and it's the people, like there are people that I know that I'm comfortable with, and under any circumstances, like I can talk to them, I can be around them. Like I'm not too worried about judgment or whatever other things we worry about as people. And then there are people that like, okay, like you're my friend that we go out together. You're my friend that we do this kind of thing together. You're my friend that will, we talk about this specific thing. And if we're not talking about that, I don't know what we're doing. You know what I mean? Like there's different levels of friends. And to kind of piggyback on your point of it's not an exclusive club or something. I mean, there's also the situation of people that you feel like you want to be friends with, but you're not friends with, right? Like you feel like, oh, like I want to be on that level with you, but I'm not because we don't have experiences. And, like you're not gonna force yourself to be friends with someone. Like you probably see
Yeah.
someone, oh, that person is cool. I would like to know them more, this and that. But it just for whatever reason, it doesn't happen. Like that's life. It doesn't mean that you're gonna force yourself on them and be friends with them. Like you just know that okay, like that person is not my friend that we hang out together. That's my friend that if we're at a party, we say hi to each other and we crack a joke or two and we keep it moving. Like it's
Yeah.
okay to have those different levels of friends. The more important thing is just to have those friends that really are going to be there and to also recognize what kinds of friends you have. Because sometimes people don't know the difference. People think that their turn up friend is their friend for always. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's
See,
your turn up friend.
that's
Like,
weird to
what are you
me.
doing?
Yeah.
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 Like, you have to
Yeah.
know the difference, I think. If not, like, you will just have unnecessary drama.
Exactly. Yeah. Like again, to go back to kind of what I was saying earlier, like I've heard somebody like consider me like, oh, like me and Faye are close, and then my mind like, I don't know if we have the same definition
Yeah.
as each other. So yeah, I do think that sometimes you need to assess the friends you have. Like back to the show you were mentioning, like maybe to her she thinks she's safe, but she hasn't done the self-reflection necessary in order to realize, oh, okay, there are gaping holes in this friendship that I wasn't aware of before. So definitely do some self-assessment, just like you do assessment of you and as a person, of you as yourself. You want to do assessments of people in your life and the relationships and the love or not lack thereof that they're bringing into your life. So that's definitely an important sentiment for everybody to leave with, because I've heard, and I'm pretty sure I've heard it from a reputable source, so I'm pretty sure it's facts, that, when people measure the happiness in their life, a lot of times what measuring it against is who they've loved and who's loved them. Like not money, nothing material, not the job they had, nothing like that. It's about the relationships they've kept, romantic or otherwise. So definitely realize that that's a huge source of wellness and happiness in your life, and it takes as much care as anything else. It takes as much care as your bank account, as much care as your career, as your family. It's necessary for you to worry about the friendships and the people that you hold dear.
Certainly. I was just having a conversation with someone recently, just talking about the idea of just even the people that are your friends, how you end up being like them, right? Like, even if you somehow, like, of course, we've all heard it, birds of a feather flock together, blah, blah, blah. And we've all, I'm sure at some point, gone through that phase where we've told our parents or whoever, like, that's not true. My friend is like that, but I'm not like that. You know what I mean? Like, and it's normal.
Like
We
that,
understand.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
just because you're friends with someone doesn't mean you're the same. But the more you're around someone, I don't want to say you become more like them, because then it sounds too simplistic. And of course, everyone's going to be like, no, I don't think so. But the things that they think, the way that they view the world, affect how you view the world, right? Like if you have a friend that's willing to do X, Y, and Z, even though you would never be willing to do it, the more you're around them, the more you're open, you see that perspective, you soften up a little bit. It's like, okay, like maybe I might be one day. Like you move closer to it. Or even the scenario we were talking about, actually, when we were talking about this, was someone that maybe had never thought about something. Like you've never thought of this idea of like, I don't know, going to the club on a Tuesday, something basic. You've never thought of going to the club on a Tuesday because who goes to the club on a Tuesday? But then your friend is like, yo, we can go to the club on a Tuesday. Now you're going to think about it. You would never have done it. You would never have been a clubber on a Tuesday. But because that's your friend, now you're more likely to do it. Just because now you know it's a thing. So it's just, you have
This
to be
makes me
careful.
giggle so much because I feel like I'm that friend.
You're the friend that's
I
like,
feel
let's go
like
to
I'm
the
the
club on
friend
Tuesday.
that no, not the friend that says go to the club on Tuesday. I'm not really a clubber myself, but I'm more the friend that just makes my friends think like, oh, I guess that's not the, like, that's a crazy, not that crazy. If they can do it, I guess it's not that crazy.
Yeah.
Then I've also had friends like that have pushed me out of my comfort zone. So
of course, and it's good to have.
I've played both sides.
It's good to have friends that, people always say, I know there's so many like articles and self-help books on friendships, but to me, I think ultimately you should be able to look at your friends and have friends that are doing better than you in some things, and some friends that you feel like you're doing better in some things. But you should never look at your group of friends and feel like you're number one in everything. Because first of all, you're probably narcissistic. Like there's something going on with you if you feel that way. But you should also never look at your friends and feel like, damn, I'm the worst at everything. Like it should be a good mix where there are people that can push you, and motivate you, and you can do the same for some other people. Like that's how it should be. That's how you move as a group. And that's, I mean, to me, that's what friendships are about. It's about sharing your life and experiences, but ultimately motivating and helping each other to greater heights.
Yeah. I'm feeling that. I'm feeling it.
I think that we are probably ready.
I'm done with friendships. I think I've said it all.
I think, I think we're done. I think we're ready for shout outs. I realized we didn't pick our song of the week, our tune our tune of the week.
I thought about it too because I was already working up like a segue in my head. I was like, oh, all of our quick hits were musical people. Right. You know, we might as well get into our quick hits, but no, we jumped right into the main topic. So you wanna do songs for part of our shout outs?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, I want to go first.
Go.
The song for the week for me, Dolapo doesn't even realize it, but the reason it's my song of the week, and it is "Addicted" by Niniola.
Hey, I realize it. What you mean? Number one in the fan club.
Yeah, that's a good song. I love it. That's my tune of the week.
Yeah, no, I really like that song. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I posted it on my IG story. I was like, yes, I must let the people know that I listen to good music and, you know, put them on. Let me give them some free drip. But no, that's a really good song. She's one of like the most talented artists, I think, out of that country. Mm-hmm. Let me see. My song for the week is a song called "Bad Influence." It's by a newer artist. His name is Omale. But it's a really good song. It's a really chill song. It's just like one of those vibey songs. Apparently he has an EP that's really good. I haven't heard the EP, but he's like the new, like I feel like every couple of months there's a new artist that's like, yo, they have a really good project. They're the next something. Like he's like that. He has a really good project, and now he's like, oh wow, he's another one to watch out for. Level. So it's a really good song. Definitely should check it out. Bad Influence by Omale. And check out his old EP because I heard it was good.
Perfect.
By reputable sources.
Okay. I believe you.
Shout out time.
Yeah. What shout outs do you want to do today? What are you thinking?
Actually, we didn't really get to prepare that much for shout outs. Guys, today is just a little bit hectic. But one of the shout outs I had was Sierra and Russell Wilson had a baby boy. So I was gonna shout out. I feel like we have another baby to talk about, but shout out to them.
On that note, I was gonna say Nicki Minaj also is expecting. She hasn't had her kid yet, but and more kids need.
Shout out to them. Shout out to everybody making babies, you know, during the pandemic. It's quite understandable. Shout out to everybody, you know, that having safe deliveries and all that. It's always good news whenever, you know, your baby's born. I've been watching, I told you this last week, I've been watching Handmaid's Tale. So, babies are just so precious now. I'm like, wow, a baby. Oh, wow. Yeah, wow. Blessed be. Under his eye.
Blessed be.
May he open.
So funny. You gotta tell, because when we did our little movie watching episode last week, or not last week, last season, you didn't say you watched Handmaid's Tale time, and I don't think you had started
because
it yet.
I didn't.
Yeah. So you need to let the people know exactly. You need to let the people know that you're on board now. Like you joined me, and Mecca had also watched it at the time you joined us. Yeah.
No, I never had any doubt that it was a good show. I thought it was a little bit weird, so sometimes I stay away from weird stuff because I don't know if I'm in the right mind frame. But I love Elizabeth Moss. Like she's top 2 actresses in the world, and I don't think she's 2.
Oh my
God. It's hype.
Somebody else said that to me recently.
She's amazing.
Somebody else said to me recently, like, what's going on?
She's amazing. Like literally put up whoever you think is up there, and I'm pretty sure that we can have a conversation. Elizabeth Moss is going to come out on top.
She's lit.
She's incredible. So I just was waiting for the right time. If you haven't watched
Invisible Man, all of you guys need to watch that.
I haven't watched that. She's in it.
Yeah, she's the lead actress in it.
Okay.
So good. Okay. You need to watch
I'll definitely check it out. I'm also going to watch this other thing on Hulu. I want to say it's called Shirley. It's like a Hulu movie, I think. It's like original. But I'm gonna watch it because she's in it. Like if she's in it, I'm willing to give it a try because I love her that much, and I believe in her. Shout out to my baby, Miss
And that's our
Moss.
shout out. That's our last shout out for this week, Miss Moss. But yeah, sorry guys for the delay. I'm sure you guys can hear on your end. Hopefully you made it through the episode and it wasn't too unbearable. But I had fun on this episode, Dolapo. I liked talking about friendships. I liked talking about Kanye West.
Yeah.
I liked talking about everything we talked about this episode. So hope you guys are going to enjoy listening to it just as much.
Yes, good episode. Thanks for listening, guys. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share with your friends. Mm-hmm. You know, the more the merrier. Mm-hmm. Have a good week.
The more the merrier. See y'all next week.